There were no votes taken in executive session. Public items, public comments on agenda items 5 through 10.
Yes. Yep. I think so.
Okay. Okay. Someone have a comment to make? Please come up and identify yourself, please.
And you're on.
Okay. My name is Laurie Ordiello Dano. I am a town resident, a lifelong town resident, actually. Do I need to say more about that? Okay. So I grew up proudly playing sports my whole life and representing the best of athletic play that our town continually produces. So I guess you can say I care deeply about our Cougar Nation. And because I care about Cougar Nation, I came today along with just a few of our caring residents and athletic parents. And there were many, many more, but we started small today to begin a conversation to start a serious town initiative to change the condition of our North Providence High School field. The time has come for our school committee, town council, superintendent, mayor, town residents to work together to make it possible that our athletes have a safe and aesthetically appealing athletic field for all our youth to enjoy for years to come. Currently, our North Providence High School field accommodates the North Providence High School varsity, junior varsity football team, girls and boys varsity, junior varsity soccer teams, girls and boys varsity, junior varsity lacrosse teams, and our North Providence Jets recreational youth teams, A, B, and C team. It is obvious that our field is being overly used, and the time has come that the field be replaced professionally, as it cannot withstand the beating it takes almost on a daily basis. I would like the conversation to start about installing a turf field. Currently, our town puts grass seeds in the middle of the field at the end of the school year, tries to rope it off for the 2 months that we are not in school session, and in hopes that blades of grass will grow before the football team uses the field again in August. I don't need to tell anyone here that that is not sustainable, and the field is literally torn to pieces as we speak tonight. There are totally bare mud patches on the field. As the winter ends and the spring begins, the field cannot repair itself for the beating it will take with our spring and summer sports. Our current field is completely unsafe for our student athletes of all ages. The ground is not level, there are pits. It is very, very difficult for our players to play on this. Athletes train to avoid injury. And our field is a place where our kids can get very injured. I have copies of the advantages of having a turf field with alternative fillers as opposed to the traditional rubber pellets that many other turf fields use. And I know that there are residents in town that find that, an issue. So there are alternative ways to do this. In addition, I would like to just end saying that coming in our sports facility, it looks good. We have a new sidewalk, the nice press box. We have one of the best views of a field that anywhere in this state. And actually, my daughter plays soccer all over this country, and so I've seen a lot of fields, and we have one of the best, the way that you can see the whole length of the field and the view. We have great parking too, and that's a big thing when you're going to soccer fields, parking on streets and things like that. So we have all the parking. So our North Providence High School field is the focal point of all our town sports. I look forward to hopefully opening up a conversation about this topic as we begin the process of making North Providence High School field the best, one of the best in the state, if not the best, for our deserving young athletes and for generations to come. So I have research and some paperwork, and I I hope that this is something that our school committee, I know that our town officials are on board also. I've talked to several of them, so.
I'd like to thank you for coming here this evening with us. And there's another lady who was a former teacher in North Providence, Ruth Bucci. Yeah, and I suggest you get together with her because she's been an advocate for this for a while now. Okay. Well, she's against the artificial turf, but you know, whatever. But I'm sure you both have the same, whatever.
I know that she is, but she might not be aware of all the other options.
That's why I think it'd be a good idea you guys talk about it and, you know, whatever, and.
We have a lot of parents that want this, it isn't just
Sure,
one.
right, sure.
I think this is a conversation that we've had before, and which is why we had Ms. Bucci come in front of us. I think it's a concern from all the town residents and the parents. We've heard it. We all agreed that we had to handle our facilities needs first before we had looked at the field. So now that that plan is underway and in a good place, I think that the next step is absolutely the fields of the town to ensure that our athletes, we had worked with the mayor's office for the tennis courts so the tennis team could avoid injury, and I think we do the same for our soccer, lacrosse, and football athletes as well. And I understand the concern that Ms. Bucci brought with her research around turf. I do think there are alternatives. I also know if it's not going to be grass seed, so if we have to put real sod down, I mean, we have to look at a way to replace and repair the field and keep it, think about our capital improvements plan to ensure that our fields are always adequate, and if not, better than average. I think that's, at minimum, that's what our kids deserve. And I think, I know Ms. Dano didn't mention it, but as someone who doesn't visit the football field often, and I often go to homecoming, it was a concern, the stands are concerned, the steps are dented and they're warped. And then we have had parents who have said that their small ones have fallen through, themselves have had injury. So not just the field, but the stands need to be addressed.
Thank you very much. Certainly we have to take a look at these things. And I mentioned Mrs. Bucci only for the fact that you guys probably both want what's best for the kids and the town. And sometimes you can always find common ground on these things. That's all. Okay. Thank you very much for coming.
I would like to add it to our next agenda so we can think about the subcommittee that could be working with the town residents and the town council and the mayor's office to get this plan in action, please.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Has anybody done a survey of the types of artificial turfs that are around high school facilities and in Rhode Island? So I know private and parochial have some of those. Has anybody from your group looked into that? And if we haven't, we should. Salve. Oh, for here. Right. Well, I mean, there are local college. I know Salve just redid it, and I believe Newport Rogers is playing on their fields. I just feel if we had a survey or we had some knowledge, and maybe you all could spearhead that. You know, what does Cranston have? What does Smithfield have? What does Lincoln have? What do all these high schools have and these communities have? And then what are some of the other facilities around the state? I know Harvard has, and we're not Harvard, but I know they have a brand new one, and it doesn't have the rubber under it. And it's very, very soft. I've been on it. So, yes. Yes. And the biggest thing would be not just, you know, the cancer question, but it would be injuries. So we need some guidance in terms of, is that actually injuries more prevalent on those kinds of fields, or with newer stuff, newer product, is it less? So perhaps if you all could do a, yes. Of course.
The way I see it being used here, when I see the boys soccer team practice on it, when I see the football team practice on it.
Well, have you seen what happens to our baseball field? Because they practice down there a lot, too. Correct. Correct.
well-maintained.
Correct.
Well, I think, I know Mrs. Bucci's name was brought up, and I think that's what she advocated was, yeah, yeah. Oh, no. I'm sure with today's rain, it didn't help it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for coming. Okay.
Okay, for superintendent's communication, I just have a few announcements that I want to make to the school committee. We were very proud in the month of September to have 2 of our teachers here in North Providence honored with Golden Apple Awards through Channel 10. So we had Patrice Wood and Commissioner Wagner come and present those awards to Deb Giamarco, who teaches math here at the high school, and Kim Hardman, who teaches science at Ritchie Middle School, both entirely deserving teachers here in North Providence, really true role models for their colleagues, and they exemplify what we hope all educators here in North Providence will be. So very proud of them, and congratulations to them. Next on communication, enclosed in your packets, you will find a communications audit and information about recommendations for improvements to our websites. Martin and Associates, Justin Martin and his team conducted this audit. It's very, very comprehensive, and in his introductory letter that was provided to me, basically the purpose of the audit was to help us and our leadership team, school committee, see what they see when looking from the outside in at the school system's current practices. And then accompanying that audit is a communications survey that they developed so that we can solicit feedback from all stakeholders, parents, families, teachers, staff, community members at large, with regard to their preferred modes of communication, how they get their information, so on and so forth. So you have both in your packet. Again, it's a very comprehensive audit, and there are several things that jump out. One is the websites that we have, both the district site and the individual school sites, and various recommendations for improvements that need to be made. And for those of us who are responsible for updating those websites and for maintaining them, can attest to the fact that we struggle with them greatly. And while we want to provide information, we want to put information out there to the public, the reality is that they're not user-friendly, and we struggle with it greatly. So it's definitely impeding our ability to communicate effectively. The second major part of the audit is around our social media presence of the district. So, you know, whether we like it or not, we are living in the world of social media where many folks, most folks, rely on social media to get most of their information. So what the audit showed us, gave us recommendations for various ways we can improve our presence on social media, and then how to effectively use those social media platforms to get information to the public. So the audit is very informative, gives us some very strong recommendations for moving forward. I know that Justin Martin and Tina Fogel are both here if anybody has any questions, but I think that it's definitely something that we need to be looking very closely at in terms of reinventing our websites and really looking at how our social media presence is out there.
Yeah, I just have a couple of questions. First of all, is there any way people can get together and let us know how much these fields cost to do? I mean, I just have an idea if it's grass, if it's not, if it's tile, just to get an idea how much that cost is. Because then I want to jump on this situation. Is how much was this audit? I don't have any idea how much this audit was. So with that, and then I'd like to know how much it would cost to do all the things that you have in this recommendation. So, you know, I know we have a nice wish list going, so this is nice, but I just want to make sure that we're not running $2, $3, $4 million of, well, I know that, but that was a pretty extensive audit, so I don't know what that cost was, and all the corrections you had in there, what would that cost?
So, yeah, the audit is generally is pretty comprehensive. Although it's, let me back up. Although it's what I might consider a 30,000 foot view of, you know, the communications platform they're currently using, the website included. It's not meant to be something that everything is addressed in 1 month or even in 1 fiscal year. The audit itself probably took us 2 or 3 days to go through as we went through, you know, all of your website pages, all the social media or lack thereof, and those pieces there. Typically what we would do with this, our next step would be to put together, in conjunction with that communications survey that the superintendent referenced, put together a communications plan and lay it out over 2 years or 3 years and say, okay, these are the immediate needs, the things we need to take care of first, based on your feedback and certainly, you know, the superintendent's decisions too. But so I can't give you an answer for how much it would cost to do everything in the audit overnight or even in a year. We would put that out over a couple of years. I don't know if that answers the question.
Well, not really, because we have to budget money. So what would be a priority? I know the field would be a priority, so that's something I would rather do rather than do something of whatever, fixing websites, because we can't have people hurt. Then I want to get done with fixing websites and doing the PR stuff, but that's got to come with a cost. So we need to have that breakdown as to what everything is.
Yeah, I have.
Or if you can get it to us, it'd be helpful.
Yeah, so because we're a member of the Northern Rhode Island Collaborative, which we pay into that collaborative, Justin's group works with the collaborative, so all of the districts can access those services. So so that's part of these audits, and then we come up with the budget, a proposed budget. So Justin did provide me with a breakdown in terms of the website, just the website piece, and if I the total approximate to get all the websites redesigned, up and running, user-friendly, security certificates, licensing, so on and so forth, compliance with federal and state ADA laws, all the photography, video editing, 24/7 maintenance support service is approximately $22,500.
That price would be to build, get everything done, and then if there's ongoing maintenance or security issues after that, that would be very minimal costs. You know, it could turn a couple $100 a year for security and such.
Mr. Chairman, is the biggest excuse me, is the biggest issue with our website the ability for parents and whomever to access it, or for on our end to fix it and change it and make it available?
There's a couple of things with the website. The first and foremost one is that in talking with the superintendent last week, that the current sites are not ADA compliant. So we've been working with a number of school districts who have had Office of Civil Rights complaints about their sites. And to explain that a little bit, if someone is visually impaired and they use a mouse to read the screen, they will scroll over a picture, and that picture is supposed to have text attached to it. It's called alt text that would speak out what that picture is. You know, Principal Smith smiling with 3 or 4 students. So the current site does not have any of that. The second thing is we're focused on making sure that we can make everything as user-friendly, that parents can get information as easily and quickly as possible, and that we can be as transparent as possible. Transparent meaning that we can get the documents on the website that are public information, public records, but transparent also so that someone comes, they want to find something, they want to get it, make it, easy as possible. So that's the second part of that we see a problem with. And then the third part, and sort of ties back into that second one, is the user accessibility or user experience, that we're all accustomed to finding things now on websites. There's a Z typically that if you opened up your computer, your eyes, whether you realize it or not, would scroll across the top, you'd cut down to the far left corner, and then you'd scroll across the bottom looking for information. We're all accustomed to finding things in certain spots. The current sites don't have that sort of built-in framework for that, so it makes it even more difficult for someone who's, wait, why can't I find this, or where is this information? So those are the things that we would focus on, making it as easy to access and understand, and for parents and community to get the information they want.
Excuse me. So the websites are up to date, they need to be what they are, and then in terms of, you know, when changes need to be made on this end,
Yep.
I'm assuming that's just gonna be a lot more facile.
Yes, yeah. So one of the platform we would propose using is WordPress if we were to, you know, build all these sites out again. And WordPress is a very user-friendly drag and drop aspect. We do some training with your principals, administrative assistants, secretaries, director level staff as well. And it's as easy as, if you know how to use Facebook, you can use WordPress in terms of updating website content. I know that in talking with the superintendent that there has been a inability to update stuff as quickly as you would want to, and that's another reason we'd want to,
Okay.
yeah.
Mrs. Picard?
Wait 1 second. I'm sorry. How long to get the website up and running if you did everything together?
Yep, it'll take us, I always want to say, let's do it in a month, and my team has gotten really angry with me about that because it doesn't work that way. Realistically, you need 4 or 5 months to start the process, and the reason for that is, A, you have to get the architecture in place, and part of that is just meeting with, imagine if you will, when you're building a house, it's a little bit similar to saying, well, what do you want the living room to look like? What do you want the dining room to look like? Where do you want the kitchen? Some of that stuff is templatized, but some of it also needs to come from the principals and from the school committee and from the superintendent's office on, you know, which pieces do you want and so forth. And then it's a matter, the second most time-consuming piece is the content and the visual art. So to put those sites up, we need photographs, you need updated content, you need correct PDFs, and taking that information and putting it together takes a while. Then it's migrating the content onto the new website and moving forward.
Okay, Gina?
The one thing I liked about the audit is that it brought out a lot of the things our parents have already said to us. The one thing being the inconsistency from the school-to-school website. So they have children in 2 or 3 schools, they can easily access this school, they can't get this information from this school. It's hard to find, it's not on the same page, so there's no consistent format, so parents can easily figure out, you know, okay, well, if I have coaching at this school, I can get it right here on the main page. If I have coaching at that school, I have to go find it on a different page. But I think, I'm hoping with this work, we'll have the consistency templates built in, so our schools will have similar, although uniqueness by school, but at least the content, you'll know where to find the calendar of events, the most important, the PTO meetings, the things that they often ask about, the school-wide Spirit Week, or the school calendar. I have a lot of parents saying to me, I can't even access the school calendar easily. So there, like you said, it's just, you have to dig too deep to find information. There's no search that happens quickly.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Anthony, there's one more thing. Is there any way we can, I just want to get an idea, back on the football field, I just want to get an idea of the cost between sod, between artificial turf, the different kinds of artificial turf. I'm ignorant of this, I have no idea what it costs, but I know it was like a lot of money last time we tried to do it. So
Yeah,
if we can get that information, even if the superintendent could find out from.
I believe Glenn and Williams, our athletic director, and Joe Go have had this conversation, and I think they may be our first go-to point.
Okay, that's fine.
Coach Cabo, which we are very blessed to have,
It's the girls' soccer.
Okay.
semi-professional, he's worked with on all research, he's got all the.
Okay, then we'll check that out.
We want to set up,
Can he come to that next meeting?
Why don't he come we get him to come to the next meeting?
we're asking you guys, and I'll make sure that he's here.
Yeah, we can do that, and then this way we can put this out to bid if we are gonna, when we're gonna do it, and
Roughly how long?
then, well, the next meeting's in a month, so.
Yeah, another month, yeah. Yeah, tell him to come to the next meeting. That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Maybe you could send
Maybe he could, maybe he could send it to us, so we would have this information before they come to the meeting and we have it.
This was just our opportunity to come forward in a general way, and we're going to get more specific as the next week comes on, but I wasn't on the agenda officially, so I didn't want to take up all the time for this. But as an educator, I'm pretty sure that our school department has a grant writer, so I know there are other towns that have wrote grants to get some of the
we got so many things going on here, I don't think we could be renting the fields out.
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I get it.
We would have desperate for it.
Yeah.
I think that our town is not, and we're better.
It wouldn't hurt to go to the council either and make your pitch to them too, because you have? Oh, did you get good feedback? Good, that's fine. I'm impressed, that's good. Good.
Okay.
So yeah, I just wanted to say that maybe we could even, and I would think.
Town does have a grant writer, so that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, so next, just very quickly, I want to thank Assistant Superintendent Seitsinger for putting together a really nice, isn't it great? Assistant Superintendent Curriculum Instruction and Assessment update that it was included in your revised packets sent to you. It was outstanding, and Louise, if you want, do you have a speaker? Do you have a microphone over there? If you want to just speak to some of the contents in case school committee members didn't have a chance to review the revised packet.
Thank you. I just want to say I was a little bit late because I went to our bullying presentation, which was excellent, and I did speak on the fly. No, it really was excellent and great forum with a good turnout. And Allison Bologna was there as the master, I guess, mistress of ceremonies, and but some great resources there. And our SRO officers were there. Department of Health was there, and I left when Ripon was presenting, so that was excellent. So what you have in front of you is just a brief synopsis of some of the activities that have been going on with curriculum, instruction, and assessment activities. A lot of it has been around meeting with our reading specialists, our elementary principals, our middle school principals, in terms of our goals and our vision and moving forward, and kind of assessing where we're at in terms of instruction, in terms of resources. And then so from there, hopefully we can build upon that and look at what we really need. And we've had some great conversations, great work being done. Right now I'm waiting for the middle school to complete an assessment of their instructional resources and materials. It's just been a lot of great work around really structures, trying to put structures in place for the district as far as curriculum and content. And currently we are over the last week, we've worked with middle school math teachers and social studies teachers as far as content and curriculum work, and also within that we're infusing blended learning. So some excellent work is happening at the school level, at all school levels. And our next piece is that we're going to be working with the elementary grade levels across the district on really looking at literacy and best practices. So that's where we're starting, and I'll also be working with the kindergarten teachers who are working on the Boston K program. So just try to kind of summarize where we're at, and if you are interested in anything else as far as other information, let me know, and I'm happy to present that at a future meeting.
Very much.
Thank you very much. And the last part under superintendent's communication, you also have a copy of this, I believe, in your updated packet. Again, Martin Associates. As you know, we have been working with Tina, who's our HR council consultant. That's a mouthful, but Tina's been coming in and really supporting us through this transition period with our human resources department. So the most recent activity is Tina came in and met with all employees within the central office to really get a sense of what is their role, what are the responsibilities within their category, and then to give us some feedback on efficiencies, where we might even be out of compliance, where we might have issues with confidentiality, and so on and so forth. So you do have a copy of that audit, and I provide, Tina did pose a few questions at the end of the audit, which I included what the district response to those questions would be, just so that you're aware of that in terms of how grievances are handled. And of course, I can't put my hand on it right now, but how grievances are handled. In terms of the teacher evaluation schedule and how we sort of monitor that, track it, ensure that we're meeting deadlines, and then in terms of any personnel issues that might come up, how those are handled, what's the protocol. So it was very insightful. We appreciate it. She did provide us with some direction moving forward, which, and all of the direction that was provided to us are certainly areas that we've discussed as a school committee and district leadership here. So we're going to continue moving forward with that. We have interviews scheduled for Friday for the new position of confidential assistant to the central office. I've shared I believe, the job description with you, and we did have a tremendous number of applicants, well over 80 applicants for that position. So we are going to be interviewing approximately anywhere from 10 to 12 candidates, and we will hopefully be able to identify an outstanding person to join our team. So I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any at this point.
If I may. As my colleague was asking earlier, you asked Mr. Martin, what's the cost of the consultant as of right now? Seems like an awful lot, you know, how many hours and so forth have you put in? It sounds like you've done a lot.
Yeah, you know what, some of us can't hear you. Can you just, thank you.
I'm thinking for our communications plan, it's important that we have good communication with our video.
So at this point, I came a day and a half to visit on-site, and then looked at job descriptions, websites. I met with Matt before he left, as well as the superintendent mentioned, the staff here to kind of talk to them about what worked, what didn't work, what. So I would say total to complete the audit, it was less than 15 hours.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay.
No.
In your plan, are you planning on getting a full-time human resource director? So if you are, and we're getting this person as the assistant, we're kind of doing what we did last time.
Right. So what we talked about at our last meeting was looking at this as an option for right now to have the audits conducted, to secure a confidential assistant who can not only assist with the HR, but additional duties within the central office that require confidentiality. So really right now the reality is we would love to have Tina full-time, but we have to look at our budget for next year and how we're going to fit that into our needs. So ideally, I think it'd be great to have a full-time HR director, but for now, and until we can develop a new budget and look at if there is going to be any restructuring of the central office, what that will look like in terms of the financial impact, this is a perfect way for us to really have the expertise of an HR professional who's also an attorney who can really guide us to get us to that point. Okay, number 2, be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee financial report be accepted as submitted.
Yeah,
So moved.
motion by Ms. Picard, second by Mr. Androsi. Next item. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, so voted. Next item.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee approve the field trip requests as submitted.
Motion by Mr. Iannetta, seconded by Mrs. Picard. Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so voted. Next item.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the resignations as submitted.
Motion by Mr. Andriozzi, seconded by Ms. Iannetta. Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, so voted. Next item.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the retirement as submitted.
Motion by Ms. Iannetta, seconded by Mr. Andriozzi. Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, so voted. Next item.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the leaves of absence as submitted.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Picard, seconded by Mr. Andriozzi. Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, so voted. Next item.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the appointments as submitted.
Motion by Mr. Iannetta, seconded by
Second.
Mrs. Picard. Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, so voted. Next item.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to terminate the employment of Ashley Gardner and Nikki Bond.
Motion by Mr. Andriozzi, seconded by
Second.
Mrs. Picard. Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, so voted. Let's see, school committee reports. There aren't any requests to address committee. Okay, use of property. Going too fast.
So moved. I'll make a motion to approve the use of property.
Okay, motion by Mrs. Picard, seconded by Mr. Iannetta. Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, so voted.
Okay. Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the list of bills as submitted.
Motion by Mr. Andriozzi, seconded by Mr. Iannetta. Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, so voted. Next item.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the minutes for the previous meetings as submitted.
Gina?
So I make a motion to approve the executive session minutes and seal the executive session minutes provisions of Rhode Island General Law 42-46-4 and 5 for September 27th.
Okay, motion by Ms. Picard, seconded by Mr. De Silva. Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, so voted.
And make a motion to approve the general session minutes for September 27th as well.
Motion by Ms. Picard, seconded by Mr. De Silva. Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, so voted.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. That's it. Adjourn at 8:25.